Guy Kawasaki is the New York Times best-selling author of 12 books. 8, author, publisher, entrepreneur, and Enchantment, The Art of Changing Hearts, Minds, and Actions. Previously, he was the chief evangelist of Apple. He's also co-founder of alltalk.com, an online magazine rack of popular topics on the web, and a founding partner at Garage Technology Ventures. Mr. Kawasaki is a BA from Stanford and an MBA from UCLA, as well as an honorary doctorate from Babson College. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Guy Kawasaki.
Source of credibility in this audience is I'm Terry Mayall's friend. And the last thing I ever bought was through Terry, right? And it'll be the next thing I ever buy will be through Terry also. So a little bit about my background. I work for this company that's kind of right next door, Apple. I worked for Apple from 83 to 87. I was Apple's software evangelist, so it was my job to convince people to write Mac software. I left that, I started some software companies with Terry's husband, as a matter of fact. And then I returned to Apple as the Apple chief evangelist. And then I left and I started a venture capital firm. And today I'm primarily a writer and a speaker. And I have been very fortunate with my career in Silicon Valley. And as I look back, I figured out that one of the things that was helping me is that I learned how to enchant people because of my work at Apple and as an entrepreneur and as a venture capitalist and now writer and a speaker. I became a big fan of Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I became a big fan of another book called Influence by Bob Cialdini. And so I decided that I wanted to write a book in that genre, and that's the book, Enchantment. A little bit more stories about the Macintosh division. That was probably the largest collection of egomaniacs in the history of Silicon Valley. And that's saying a lot, obviously, because you're laughing, so you know what I mean. Because we worked for Steve, we had very special rules. We had unlimited supplies of fresh orange juice at $2 a bottle. We had a great travel policy. Our travel policy was that any flight over 2 hours qualified for first-class travel. So my interpretation of that rule was, of course, the 2 hours includes the transportation time from your house to the airport. So literally, I would fly first class from San Francisco to Monterey. It was a very good time. Back then, Apple was divided into two groups, the Apple II division, which was making all the money because it was already shipping, and the Macintosh division, which was losing all the money because we were in pure R&D. We were not yet shipping. But we were such bad people that I gotta tell you. So we, the Macintosh division, would not allow Apple II division people into our building. So, for example, could you imagine creating a firm where one part of the company could not come into the building of the other part of the company? And then the Apple II division people quickly figured out that they were paying for that building. And so that kind of upset them. So they came up with this great joke about the Macintosh division, which is how many Macintosh division employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer is 1. The Macintosh division employee holds up the light bulb and expects the universe to revolve around him. There's a Microsoft version of this joke. The Microsoft version is how many Microsoft employees does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer to that is none, because Bill Gates has declared darkness the new standard. I have been watching high-tech speakers for about 30 years now. And I'll tell you, there are two salient points about them. First, they pretty much all suck as speakers. And second, they go long. And that is an ironic combination. You know, if you suck and you go short, it's okay. And if you're great and you go long, it's okay. But if you suck and go long, it's like being stupid and arrogant. You know? It's a bad combination. And so what I do for my speeches is I always use the top 10 format. This way, if you think I suck, you know approximately how much longer I'll suck. I have 10 points in this speech. So let me proceed through my speech, and I forget, how long do I have? An hour? Okay. Now we're going to see, this is a very good experiment. So a mere seconds before I came up here, we plugged this remote into this Windows laptop, and we're going to see if it's going to work. So how many think it's going to work?
Yes.
Now this is a Windows laptop. Okay. So when I press this button, this slide should advance. Oh, yeah. For once. So I think there are 3 key pillars to enchantment. The first pillar is likability. And if you want to enchant people, if you want to become even more enchanting, although it's hard to imagine you becoming more enchanting. If you're anything like Terry, you're probably at the limit of enchantment already. But let's just suppose it's theoretically possible you could become even more enchanting. Step 1 is to increase your likability. I mean, think about this. Have you ever been enchanted by someone that you didn't like? Probably not. This is a picture that I think truly illustrates likability. This is Richard Branson and I, and we are together in Moscow. And he came up to me in the speaker ready room, and he asked me, "Guy, do you fly on Virgin?" And being the honest guy that I am, I said, "You know, Richard, I'm a United Airlines Global Service level customer. I don't even know how I got to be Global Service. So I'm not going to jeopardize this by flying on any other airline." And what he did is what you see. At that moment, he just got down on his knees and started polishing my shoes. So the next time you really want a listing, or you really want something to go into escrow, remember Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson, billionaire, got down on his knees. And this is the moment I started flying on Virgin America. FYI. So let's start with the qualities of likability. Number 1, you need a great smile. This is called a Pan Am smile. This is not a great smile. This is a mediocre smile. This flight attendant is not truly happy to see those passengers. She's kind of grinning and bearing it. It's almost as if she's holding a pencil in her teeth. That's not a great smile. That's a Pan Am smile. A great smile is called a Duchenne smile. A Duchenne smile uses a second set of muscles, and the more important set of muscles, the eye muscles. The key to a great smile is to smile with your eyes, not your jaw. And one of the evidence of a great smile is you will have crow's feet. So, believe it or not, crow's feet is a good thing. Really, no more Botox, no more plastic surgery. You actually want crow's feet. Ladies, if you're particularly concerned about this recommendation, think about it this way, that you're not getting older, you are getting more enchanting. So you want crow's feet. This is a woman named Mari Smith. She's an expert in Facebook marketing. When I created this speech, I knew I wanted someone who had a great Duchenne smile with lots of crow's feet. And my first choice was actually George Clooney. But I found out that you have to pay George Clooney a lot of money to use his picture in a speech. And so I contacted my friend Mari, and I said, "Mari, I have good news for you and bad news for you. The good news is I'm going to put your picture in my speech. I'm going to tell thousands of people about you. The bad news is, fundamentally, I'm putting you in my speech because of your crow's feet." She's a good sport and said, okay, so she's the example. The Duchenne smile, not just your jaw and your eyes. Next thing is you need to learn to accept others. That is, accept others for what they are, no matter how much jewelry they have in their face, no matter what gender, socioeconomic background, religion, whatever it is, accept others. Think about it. Have you ever been enchanted by someone who you knew did not accept you for what you are? Probably not. You need to accept people for what they are. And the third thing is to always default to yes. be always thinking, yes, how can I help the person? That by definition, you'll probably say yes to any request he or she makes. Now, you may be thinking this is a high-risk strategy, but I will tell you that the upside of defaulting to yes and developing a reputation for likability and enchantment is far greater than the downside of being taken advantage of. In my career, there have been 4 or 5 people who've tried to take advantage of me. I would say that those 4 or 5 people were not worth enchanting. But in every other case, it worked out where the upside far exceeded the downside of always being negative or always being suspicious or even always trying to figure out how to take advantage of the other person. Default to yes. That's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is to achieve trustworthiness, because you can be likable but still not trustworthy. For example, you could like a Hollywood celebrity, but you might not trust the Hollywood celebrity. You could like Charlie Sheen, but not trust Charlie Sheen. Big difference between likability and trustworthiness. So the key to trustworthiness is to understand the sequence of events. And the way it works is you have to trust other people before they will come to trust you. The onus, the burden is upon you. Here are some examples. With Amazon, you can buy a Kindle ebook. You have 1 week to read it. You can return it, no problem, after a week. No questions asked, no problem, completely transparently, completely in a fluid manner. Amazon is basically saying, we trust you. If you buy a Kindle ebook and you return it in a week, it's because you don't like it. It's not because you've already read it. And because people have come to trust Amazon, Amazon started it by having trust for them. That's the sequence of events. Amazon trusted us, we've come to trust Amazon. A second example, how many of you buy shoes through Zappos? Okay, so my family buys a lot of shoes through Zappos. My wife has truly come to trust Zappos. We have a box coming into our house once a week. We also have a slightly smaller box going out once a week. The interesting thing is, how did Zappos become so trusted? Well, if you had said to me the business model for Zappos was going to be, we'll enable women to buy shoes without seeing them or trying them on, I would have told you you were crazy, that no woman would buy a shoe without seeing them or trying them on. And yet, millions of women have come to do this. And the reason is because Zappos trusts women. And the most obvious manifestation of that trust is that Zappos has a policy where it'll pay shipping both ways. You buy the shoe, if you don't like it, it will pay for the shipping back to Zappos. I can't think of another company that does that. And because it trusted women, women have come to trust Zappos. And the final brick and mortar example, of course, is Nordstrom. Because at Nordstrom, it totally trusts its customers. There's a story that Nordstrom once took the return of a tire. Clearly, Nordstrom does not sell tires. Nordstrom is so willing to show that it trusts people that it took the return of a tire. And I asked Nordstrom if this is a true story. It actually is a true story. Nordstrom took the return of a tire. So that's step number 1, trust others. Step number 2 is to become a baker, not an eater. A baker sees the world very differently from an eater. An eater sees the world as a zero-sum game, right? The totality of the pie is 6%. The totality of the pie has to be split. If you eat more of the pie, I eat less of the pie. If I eat less of the pie, did I say that right? Well, the point is, it's only a set pie. Either you eat more or I eat more. A baker sees the world very differently. A baker sees the world as a non-zero-sum game. I can bake more pies, I can bake bigger pies, I can bake cookies and cakes. A baker does not see the world as a zero-sum game. Bakers are more trustworthy. People look at bakers and say, wow, you're not just trying to get something away from me. You're not trying to just take as much of a limited resource away. You are seeing the world as unlimited resources. We can bake more pies, bake bigger pies, bake cookies and cakes. Bakers are more trustworthy than eaters. And finally, you need to find something to agree on. If you're having difficulty establishing a trustworthy relationship with someone, find the littlest thing to agree on. Anything. It doesn't have to be the big issues. Two examples, one with Apple. In an Apple, we tried to make Macintosh a spreadsheet database and word processing machine in the mid-'80s. We were 0 for 3 in those markets. Fortunately, it was a product called PageMaker, and PageMaker created a very, very attractive market called desktop publishing. Desktop publishing was the first place that Apple and the market agreed on something. Macintosh was good for desktop publishing. Until then, it was total rejection. I think that PageMaker was a gift from God to Apple because it saved Apple. Without PageMaker, there would be no Apple. There would be no desktop publishing. Apple would have died. If Apple would have died, it would have been a different world today, right? We'd all have phones with real keypads. We'd have phones where the battery lasted for more than a day. We'd have phones where the GPS actually worked. It would be a different world. So, and actually, I have to tell you, I believe in God, and one of the reasons why I believe in God is there is no other explanation for Apple's continued survival than the existence of a benevolent God. There are no Apple customers who are atheists, trust me. So, where was I? So, now you may be wondering, what does this picture have to do with anything? So the story goes, two Latin American countries having a diplomatic crisis. They meet in a neutral third country. After a few days, they make no progress. Diplomat of one country says to diplomat of another country, I need to resolve this. We have to come to some conclusion by Friday. I have to go home on Friday. The reason why I have to go home on Friday is because I promised my wife I would take her to the opera. I hate the opera, but my wife forces me to take her to the opera, and I promised her I would do that on Friday night. The other diplomat, who has agreed with nothing that the first person has said for the whole week, finally says, you know what? I also hate the opera. And my wife also forces me to take her to the opera. So they finally found something to agree on. And based on a dislike of opera, they formed a relationship which led to the successful resolution of the diplomatic crisis. The point here is find something to agree on. You want to build up trust. It could be desktop publishing. It could be a dislike of opera. It could be a like of the San Jose Sharks. Whatever it is, find something to agree on. Step number 3 is to perfect your product or service. I have tried to enchant people with great stuff, and I have tried to enchant people with crap. And it is a lot easier to enchant people with great stuff. So I want to talk about the 5 qualities of great stuff. Quality number 1 is great stuff is deep. Lots of features, lots of functionality. The company has anticipated what people will need as they come up the power curve. You have anticipated what a buyer needs when they're closing escrow, when they're getting into their new home, right? It's not simply the listing, it's the totality of what you do. Secondly, great products, great services, and companies are intelligent. You look at them and you say, wow, someone was thinking, someone understood my pain, someone understood the opportunity. Here's an example. This is a GT500 Shelby Mustang. This is a real great Mustang. This Mustang goes 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. It has 650 horsepower. For those of you who are not familiar with those kind of statistics, think of this, Terry, as 6.8 Priuses. I know you have a Prius. It's roughly 7 Priuses. Now, I would love to buy one of these cars. You know, Asian American going through a midlife crisis, feelings of inadequacy. This is a great car to help me compensate. But I have 4 children. My 4 children are 7, 11, 17, and 19. The 17 and 19-year-old both have licenses, both boys. And the thought of either of them driving a car with this much power, it just frightens me. It's just irresponsible on my side. So I really hesitate to buy a car like this, but I learned that Ford is a very intelligent product. The intelligent product is called My Key, and what it does is it enables you to limit the top speed of the car through the key. So on those rare occasions where they might be driving Dad's car, I would give them a key that was limited to 55 miles. Now, if any of you decide to do this, just understand that the My Key controls the top speed of the car, not how long it takes to get to 55 miles. Next thing is great products are complete. Great services are complete. It's the totality. In your business, I would think it's not just you, It's not just the other broker. It's also escrow. It's title. It might be services. It's how do you connect the power? Where do you call PG&E? Where do you get all this other stuff? What's a great school in that area? How do you get into that school? What if it's a private school? Who's the headmaster of their private school? When is the admission deadline? It's the totality of all the services. It's the moving service. It's all that. It's not just the car. If you're in a car business, it's when you buy a Lexus, it's not just the rubber and the steel and the glass. It's the totality of the Lexus experience. And finally, great products, great services are empowering. They make you feel more creative and more productive. And truly, finally, I said finally too early, is great products and services are elegant. Someone cared about the user interface. So, the 3 pillars of enchantment are that you are likable, you are trustworthy, and you have something that's really great, something that's deep, intelligent, complete, empowering, and elegant. Step 4 is to actually launch your product, your service, your listing, whatever it is. The key to a launch is to tell a great story. Not that it's patent pending, curve jumping, paradigm shifting, enterprise class, carrier, scalable, whatever it is. Never use those kinds of words. Tell a story, the story of the house. Tell the story of your company. In Silicon Valley, I'll tell you some stories. 2 guys in a garage, they're frustrated because the only place you can use a computer is at a university or at a bank or at the government. So they think, my God, there must be a better way. Why can't computers be smaller and cheaper and easier to use? So they create Apple. Or, my girlfriend collects Pez dispensers. She wanted to sell Pez dispensers online. She couldn't do it, so I started eBay. It's a total bullshit story, but it is a great story. Great story. Tell a story about your product. Tell your story about your listing. Secondly, plant many seeds. It used to be that marketing was top-down. I believe now marketing is bottom-up. That it used to be you sucked up to the powerful people and you hope they blessed you. Now I think it's Lonely Boy 15. Lonely Boy 15, nobodies are the new somebodies. And if you believe this theory, then you have to plant many seeds because it's very hard to find Lonely Boy 15. To a great extent, Lonely Boy 15 has to find you. This means you use social media to find people. Next thing is use the salient points. I'll show you with 3 illustrations. Let's say you're in the food business. You make dietary products, dietary, organic, just all the good stuff about your products, right? So if you look at most bags of chips, if you turn it over, it says there's 2 servings in this bag. Each serving is 150 calories. 2 times 150 is 300 calories. Now people are wondering, what exactly is 300 calories? So imagine if you turned over a bag and it said, if you eat this bag of chips, you have to run 25 miles. That is a much better description of what's in the bag than 300 calories. Second example, let's say you're in the not-for-profit business. Most not-for-profits like to talk in terms of the endowment, the size, the dollars in their fund. A much better way to talk about a not-for-profit is, if you give me $500, it buys a family food for a year, 12 months. Because people who are giving money to a not-for-profit, they're thinking in terms of months of food, not dollars for your fund. And in the gadget business, I don't think most people wake up in the morning saying, God, if I only had 64 gigabytes, my life would be complete. I think they wake up in the morning saying, I want something thin and cool and beautiful that can hold 15,000 songs and 1,000 movies and 10,000 books. They're thinking in terms of those things, songs, books, and movies, not gigabytes. Who knows what a gigabyte is? Use the salient points to describe your product. Number 5 is to overcome resistance to your enchantment. This is a picture that depicts overcoming resistance. There was great resistance by retailers to stocking electronic games in the mid-'80s. The electronic game business was very tarnished. So what Nintendo did to avoid this situation is they added a robot to its game and called it an educational toy. Completely changing the positioning. And then it got children to ask their parents for an educational toy to learn robotics for Christmas. which is a very different pitch than buy me a toy, buy me a game to shoot stuff up. Educational toy to learn robotics versus game to shoot stuff up. That's how it overcame resistance. More ways to overcome resistance. Provide social proof. I think Apple did this extremely well with the iPod, because when the iPod first came out, one of the truly distinctive aspects of the iPod was that it had a white earbud. So you noticed white earbud. Pretty soon you figured out white earbud equals iPod, right? And after a while, you saw so many of those white earbuds, you decided you had to buy an iPod because resisting Apple is futile. So you bought a white iPod, and guess what? You added to the pool of earbuds. So you saw white earbuds, you bought an iPod. You added to the pool of white earbuds. More people saw white earbuds. More people bought iPods. More people bought iPods. More people saw white earbuds. It became this beautiful upward spiral. Provide social proof. Show that people used your organization for a listing, for the buy, or for the sell. Somehow try to make that obvious. Enable people to show that they've used your company. Provide social proof. Next thing is to use a data set to change a mindset. I think there are many cases where people have a pattern of thinking. They assume that something's true. It's been true forever. You know, perhaps the real estate is going up or going down or staying the same, or interest rates are going up or going down, or whatever it is. There's some kind of data that people think this is how it is, and they are wrong. And so I'll show you, when you encounter a situation like this, how you can use a data set to change a mindset. In this case, this is a chart that shows the number of kids that a woman has in a country. That's along the horizontal axis. The vertical axis is the expected life expectancy of people in that country. Okay? So if you're in the upper left corner, it means that you have a long life and few kids. There could be an explanation for that. In the bottom right corner, it means that you have a short life and many kids. Okay? That's the two major corners. The colors depict what part of the world you're from. So I think that to this day, many people believe that other than America, everybody else has lots of kids and short lives. Right? To this day, people believe that. And this is how it was in 1950. And to a large extent, that validates what people believe. That in 1950, if you lived in Western Europe or America, you had few kids and long lives, that would be accurate. But I think many people still think this. And so watch what happens over the next 59 years. You are seeing that the whole world is going into that upper left-hand corner, right? And it's not just America and Western Europe. Asia, Pakistan, India, China, they're all moving into that upper left corner. Everybody has longer lives and fewer kids all over the world. The exception is the navy blue dots. The navy blue dots are the continent of Africa. So other than Africa, most of the world is just like us, if you will. Few kids, long lives. The point here is you can use animated data sets like this to really, really change a mindset. You have a lot of statistics in your business. If there are statistics and changes you want to communicate, animate the data. It's a very powerful way to prove to people that the world has changed. This is using a data set to change a mindset. The next thing is to be sure you enchant all the influencers in a decision. Many people assume it's the father. You would be wrong 80% of the time. It would be the mother that really makes the decision. Sometimes it's the sister-in-law, sometimes it's the grandfather. In my particular family, it's the daughter. Right. How many of you have daughters? All right, so you understand what I'm saying. So, this is, a mark of a good speaker is you never get irrelevant. The mark of a great speaker is you can get irrelevant and come back. And I'm going to show you that right now. So, of those of you with daughters, how many of you have taken your daughter to the movie, bought the movie, or rented the movie, Never Say Never, the Justin Bieber movie? How many of you have seen that? Okay, 4, 5 of you. All right, so 5 of you love your daughters. Okay. So what I want to tell you is I think you should all, as a corporate exercise, watch that movie. That movie is one of the most powerful movies I've ever seen about marketing and social media and mentoring. You will see how Justin Bieber's mother made him successful using YouTube and Twitter. Not money, social media. You'll see word of mouth when you watch the tape, and there are people who are interviewing girls who have no tickets for the concert. So Justin Bieber's people go into the parking lots of the concerts and finds girls who don't have tickets and gives them tickets to the concert. And the pure joy that those tickets bring them, the viral word-of-mouth advertising that those tickets cause, are just amazing. And finally in that movie, if you've ever been mentored, or if you ever are a mentor, you should watch how Justin Bieber interacts with his vocal coach. Truly, truly an interesting relationship. So I suggest to you that for marketing research and marketing education, please rent or buy that movie. I promise you, you will learn a ton about social media and marketing by watching Justin Bieber's movie, Never Say Never. If you do this, and you feel that it was a total waste of your money to rent or buy that movie, I will give you your money back. Okay? Just tell Terry you need the money back. And she will tell me, and I'll send you your money back. Just trust me on this. Never say never. Now we're going to make the most amazing transition. We're going from Justin Bieber to the Grateful Dead. Step number 6 is to make your enchantment endure. The Grateful Dead has endured for decades. One of the reasons why it endures is because at a Grateful Dead concert, the Grateful Dead creates a special area for people to record the concert. They call them tapers, though nobody uses tape anymore. So the Grateful Dead encourages piracy of its music at the concert. Why does it do that? Because it knows that the most hardcore Grateful Dead fan is at the concert, and they want to help those hardcore Grateful Dead fans find more new Grateful Dead fans. So it's enabling those Grateful Dead fans to become evangelists for the Grateful Dead. What a concept, right? While the rest of the record industry is suing little old ladies for downloading cello music, the Grateful Dead is encouraging people to record its concert, to share its music. One of the reasons why the Grateful Dead has endured. More ways to endure. Create the totality of the ecosystem. Going back to the C in Dicey. Again, if you're in the software business, it's not just the software. It's the consultants and developers and resellers and user groups and websites and online conferences, all the great stuff. In your business, I would think it's the title company, it's the escrow company, it's the relocation company, it's PG&E, it's waste management. You know, how do you change the pickup for your picking up your recycling? All that kind of stuff. The school system. You know, where's the best yoga place in your new area? It's that totality of it. It's not simply your organization. It's the totality of it. The beauty of an ecosystem is that it can provide services that you cannot or will not provide. You know, Apple has thousands of iOS developers. Google has thousands of Android developers. Think of the richness of the Android phones and the iOS phones, not because of Google, not because of Apple, but because of its developers as part of its ecosystem. You need to develop an ecosystem. The next thing is you invoke reciprocation. Reciprocation is a very powerful way to make your enchantment last. So this is the work of Bob Cialdini, who I highly recommend you read this book. It's called Influence. This is a carpet that depicts the war between Italy and Ethiopia. In the 1930s, Italy invaded Ethiopia. When they did this, the people of Mexico collected money and sent money to Ethiopia to help Ethiopia defend its country. About 90 years later, there was a huge earthquake in Mexico, and the people of Ethiopia collected money and sent money back to Mexico, even though Ethiopia was in the middle of a famine. So it's not like Ethiopia was sitting high and mighty when this happened. They were starving to death. And yet they collected money and sent money back to Mexico to reciprocate for something that Mexico did 90 years later. You know, right after the Civil War, the people of New York bought the people of Charleston a fire truck. The first one was on a ship that sank, so they had to buy them 2 fire trucks. Now think about that. This is right after the Civil War. So the people of the North, the New Yorkers, want the people of the South, the Confederacy, a fire truck, completely across the battle lines. 150 years later, 9/11 happens. And guess what the people of Charleston do? They buy the people of New York a fire truck. 150 years later, they reciprocated. Very powerful force to make your enchantment last. I'm going to give you 2 power tips about reciprocation. So you can be my subject. Okay, so let's say that I default to yes. Let's say that I think like a baker, not an eater. So I do something for you. Okay, something that just helps you a lot. So she's going to thank me, right? Of course. So the question is, what is the optimal response when she thanks me? It is not simply, you're welcome. It is, I know you would do the same for me. By saying, I know you would do the same for me, I'm telling her she's a good person. I know you would do the same to me. But you know what else I'm telling her? And that's what makes it optimal. I know you will do the same for me. I'm putting her on record. That is the optimal response when someone is thanking you. Second power tip about reciprocation, I need to enable her to pay me back. Because she may want me to do more things. I, as a defaulter to yes, and a baker, I am perfectly happy to do more for her, but I am not clairvoyant. So how do I know what more I can do? She doesn't want to ask me because she thinks she already owes me. So the best thing I can do for both of us is give her a way to pay me back. This will clear the decks. She can ask me to do more stuff. I can do more stuff, and we can have an even more enchanting relationship. So contrary to what might seem good logic, when someone owes you something, you are actually doing them a favor by enabling them to pay you back. 2 power tips about reciprocation for you. I know you would do the same for me, and here's how you can pay me back. Next thing, don't rely on money. Now, I realize who I'm talking to here, right? But I am going to make the case that, yes, money counts. I'm not saying, of all people in the world, if you knew me, I am not a hypocrite. I understand money. But the key to your enchanting relationship should be likability, trustworthiness, and quality. Money, affiliate fees, commissions, all that other kind of stuff can make it stronger. But if the essential part of your enchantment is money, then I would make the case it's probably not enchantment. If you are likable and trustworthy and competent, you can enchant people. Money can make it better, make it faster, make it more strong. But the key is likability, trustworthiness, and competence. It is not money. Number 7, great enchanters are great presenters and speakers. Some tips for you. Number 1, customize the introduction. When you start off a presentation, customize it. Make sure people understand you know exactly who you're talking to. I like to do it with pictures. This is a picture of my LG washer and dryer. So here's the scenario. I'm in Sao Paulo. I'm talking to the LG management of Latin America. But I'm already there, and I think, you know, God, if you had your act together, you would have taken a picture of your LG washer and dryer so you could open up your LG speech in Brazil showing you our LG customer, right? Duh. But I was already in Brazil. But I thought I'd invoke a little reciprocation, right? So I'm sitting there in Brazil, I'm about to go on, I send a text message to my 2 older boys, the same 2 older boys that I want driving a Mustang, right? And I try to invoke a little reciprocation. I want you to get off the Xbox 360 that I bought you. Turn off Call of Duty that I bought you. Go downstairs in the house that I bought you. Take the iPhone 4s that I bought you. Take a picture of the LG washer and dryer that I bought you so you can have clean clothes. Send me this picture right away. I'm about to make a speech. I need the picture ASAP. Okay. So those of you with teenage boys, you understand what happens next, which is nothing. So you have to understand, I'll give you the names. So the 2 boys' names are Nick is the older one, Noah is the younger one, right? So Nick, Noah. So I send a text message to my older son, Nick, and I say, Nick, did you get my text messages needing the pictures? Nick responds, Noah said he got the text message and he'll take the pictures. And since you're talking to LG, can you get us TVs? Yeah. Welcome to my life. And then you see my response down there, because there's defaulting to yes, there's baking, not eating, but there's also stupidity. So I sent him a message saying, I doubt it. Noah did send the pictures. I did open up the speech with those pictures of the LG washer and dryer. Now, let me show you how I use pictures. When I was in Russia with Richard Branson, I opened up my speech in Russia with this picture, and I said, wow, I had no idea. You Russians really have big balls. When I made a speech in Scotland, I opened up with this picture showing that I had already visited Crombie's, which is the world center for haggis. And so I showed them that I understood some part of their local culture. I didn't tell them I ate it. I said I went to Crombie's and I learned about haggis. They loved it in Edinburgh. But this is my favorite picture of all. This is a picture of me in the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul. How many have ever been to the Grand Bazaar? Or been to Istanbul? If you've been to Istanbul, you probably went to the Grand Bazaar. So, you know, next year, Chris, when you really want to just knock it out of the park here, take everybody to Istanbul. I have to tell you, it's more than a 2-hour flight, so first class. It's roughly 10 grand each leg. It's 20 grand. How much could it be, right? A couple more listings. So I want to tell you a story of this picture. So I'm in the Grand Bazaar. The guy behind me is the owner of the little shop. He has glasses on. So if you're far away, you can't tell, but that guy has a Duchenne smile on. That guy is happy. You know why he's happy? You know what he's thinking? He's thinking, this dumbass American is going to buy this fez. This fez has been in my family shop for 3 generations. And finally, I found someone stupid enough to buy this fez. So I just want to show you that I bring joy wherever I go. Next thing is when you making a presentation, when you're making a speech, you need to sell your dream. Doesn't matter if it's 100 people, 500 people, 5,000, or 5 people. You need to sell your dream. Your dream for what this product, what this serving, what this house, what this listing represents. When Steve Jobs introduced an iPhone, he did not hold up the iPhone and says, I have $188 worth of parts here. We manufacture these $188 worth of parts in China at a company where people are killing themselves. Okay, this is not how he positioned an iPhone. He positioned an iPhone as cool and thin and beautiful, and there's an app for that. The phone was a dream. It wasn't $188 worth of parts. Sell your dream. And then there's the 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint. So if you ever have to use PowerPoint, this is a very good rule for you. The optimal number of slides in PowerPoint is 10. 10. You'll be lucky to get 10 points across. 10 slides. Now, you're all smart people. You're looking at me with skepticism. You're saying, Guy, you're telling us to use 10 slides, but you're on like number 40 already, right? What's the deal? Let me explain. You are not me. So, 10 slides. You should be able to give those 10 slides in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Yes, you have an hour slot. Why would I say 20 minutes? Because, well, how many of you use a Macintosh in this room? How many use Windows? Okay, so for those people who use Windows laptops, we all know they need 40 minutes to make it work with the projector. So if everybody in the world used the Macintosh, this would be the 10-60-30 rule. But a significant portion of the world still uses Windows. So I had to make it the general case, and the general case is better. 10 slides, 20 minutes for your presentation, 40 minutes to make it work with the projector, 30-point font. 10, 20, 30. The 30 is the 30-point font. 30 points is just about the perfect size. The way you calculate the perfect size for your PowerPoint presentation, figure out who the oldest person is in the audience, divide his or her age by 2. 60-year-old people divide by 2. 30. 50-year-old people divide by 2. 25. You know, someday, maybe there's this like Facebook wunderkind, and he's buying a house. And so, you know, he's 16-year-old. That day, use the 8-point font. But until that day, 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. Number 8, use technology. We are in a great time to enchant people using technology because social media is fast, and free, and ubiquitous. It cannot get much better than this. Imagine Dale Carnegie in the 1930s. His idea of a big meeting was 200-300 people in a hotel ballroom. And now we can reach millions of people with social media. Fast, free, and ubiquitous. We have significant advantages. Step number one in using technology is remove the speed bumps. This is a screen of CAPTCHA. Has everybody here encountered CAPTCHA registering for a website? Yeah. So you know, what's the purpose of CAPTCHA? It's to reduce the number of customers that you have. Yeah. Right? This is an example I found of CAPTCHA. The first word is Holberg. What's the second word? How many of you even know what language the second word is? Yeah, so the same number of people who took their daughter to the Justin Bieber movie know what that language is, right? So that is Hebrew. How many of you who know that's Hebrew or speak Hebrew have a Hebrew keyboard? Ah, 0 of you. So in this whole room of 200 people, not one of you could get past this CAPTCHA. That's a problem. An irony of ironies, I wish I could tell you I planned it this way, that is the Hebrew word for obstacle. So let me show you a company that has removed the speed bump. This is a company called Sungevity. Sungevity is in the business of installing residential solar panels. Maybe this should be part of your ecosystem, right? So, what is one of the speed bumps in solar panel installation? Really, it's the first meeting. You have to set up a time, you have to be home, they have to show up, they're going to look at your roof, measure your roof, do all that kind of stuff, right? So you have to set that up, you have to be there, everything has to work out. But Sungevity has removed that speed bump. Sungevity asks you for your home address. And from your home address, they look you up on a satellite photo. This is a satellite photo. And from the satellite photo, they can figure out which way is the southwest. They can figure out how big your roof is. They can mock up the solar panels on your roof. From that mock-up, they can figure out about how much power the roof can put out and how much it will cost. All you had to do was go to their website and give it the home address. You did not have to set up a meeting. It removed a big speed bump. Next thing is in social media in particular, you always have to be providing value. Value. Value comes in 3 forms. Information, what just happened? Insights, what does it mean that this just happened? And finally, assistance. How do you get this good thing to happen, or how do you avoid this bad thing? All of your social media should be about that, providing people's value. It's not about promotion per se. The way the promotion works in social media is you earn the right to promote. You earn the right to promote by providing information, analysis, or assistance. Think of NPR. NPR has great content, 365 days a year. Wait, don't tell me. This American Life, Fresh Air, Tech Nation, all this great stuff, right? It provides such great content that every once in a while it runs a telethon. None of us like the telethon, right? But we tolerate the telethon. Why do we tolerate the telethon? Because we feel like we owe NPR something, because NPR has provided such great content. I don't think any of us care about getting the free Eton hand-crank earthquake nuclear disaster radio, right? Because frankly, if we're in the middle of a nuclear disaster, the last thing in the world you probably want to do is crank the radio to find out when you're going to die. So we don't care about the radio. We just care that NPR has been providing great content, so they've earned the right to run the telethon. Imagine if NPR ran a telethon 95% of the time, and 5% of the time it provided great content. NPR would be dead. Think of NPR. You always provide value so that you earn the right to promote. Next thing is some rules of engagement. The life of a tweet, I think, is about 2 hours. The life of email is about 72 hours. If you just answered all your email in 72 hours, you would be enchanted. Not many people can do that. Next thing is, remember, the earth is flat. It's not just the visible, powerful people. It's Lonely Boy 15. Lonely Boy 15, who still lives with his mother, might be the person that helps you tip. Lonely Boy 15. And finally, you have to do this all the time now. Social media is no longer an experiment. It is core to marketing at this point. Next thing, how to enchant your boss. For you, Chris. How to enchant your boss? The key to enchanting your boss is very simple. When your boss asks you to do something, you drop everything and do it. I'm not saying it's optimal. You better get on your knees and shine your shoes. I'm not saying it's optimal. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying it's effective. You want to enchant your boss, drop everything else.
Guys, my wife included.
Well, I was just coming to that. I was just coming to that. Okay, so advice for men. When your wife asks you to do something, drop everything else. And do what your wife asks. Don't get into this argument where you're going to explain to your wife why what you're doing is more important than what she asked you to do. Because frankly, you are wrong. So, next thing to do is when requested by your boss, you drop everything else and then you prototype fast. If your wife asked you, or excuse me, your boss, same thing. If your boss asks you to create a PowerPoint presentation, come back in a few hours with text only and a few dropped-in graphics and say, am I on the right path? There's two benefits to doing this. One is you really have proven that you dropped everything, right? You come right back with a prototype. Secondly, the faster you come back with a prototype, the longer you have to fix to make it great. And the third thing is deliver bad news early. The concept that you should deliver bad news at the very last moment, because prior to the last moment, the miracle will occur, that is dangerous and flawed thinking. As soon as you know something bad may happen, you should deliver the bad news because it gives you and your boss a chance to prevent the bad news from happening. Deliver bad news early, not late. Now, how to enchant people who work for you? The key to this is in a book called Drive by Daniel Pink, another book I recommend. In this book, Daniel Pink says, pay people adequately. That's taken as a baseline. But if you truly want to enchant your employees, you provide a map. The M in MAP stands for mastery. If you come work for us, you will master new skills. You will become a better broker. You will master new skills. You'll be working autonomously. We do not breathe down your neck. You work independently. And finally, we work towards a higher purpose, not simply making commissions. We want to change the world. We want to enable people to realize their dreams. We want to make people more creative, more powerful, peace of mind. We have higher level goals than simply making a buck. So come work for us. You will master new skills while working autonomously towards a higher purpose. That's how you truly enchant employees. Next thing you do is you empower action. You tell people, we trust you. We think you're smart. Make the decision. Take care of it. You don't have to check on me for every decision that you make. And finally, you should be like Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs. How many of you watch Dirty Jobs? Dirty Jobs is a very enchanting show. What makes Dirty Jobs so enchanting is that Mike Rowe is willing to do the dirty job. He will work in the paint factory, the toy factory, clean the outside of the skyscraper. He'll go underneath the house and get the dead skunks. He'll go into the sewer, get the dead rats. He'll perform artificial insemination on chickens, turkeys, pigs, llamas, whatever it takes. Mike Rowe is willing to do the dirty job. Chris, are you willing to do the dirty job? And never ask an employee to do something that you yourself would not do. That's what enchants employees. Do the dirty job and suck it up. This is my second to the last slide. What time is it? 10:15. Am I running on time? Okay. What time did I start? 9:15? Okay, so my second to the last slide. You all have books, and it'll be my pleasure to sign them. Let's just talk about this process. Okay, so first of all, I signed the outside of the book. And the reason why I signed the outside of the book is because it's faster. Number one. Number two, it seems to me that the reason why you get a book autograph is to show off that you met the author. Well, how are people going to know you met the author if I sign the inside? I need to sign the outside, right? So that's another reason why I signed the outside. Now, a few years ago, I had a book, and I would sign that book Kick Butt. Okay, so whatever, it would be Nancy Kick Butt, Guy Kawasaki. So I did this. And then one day in a signing, this woman comes up to me after I signed her book and says to me, Guy, why did you sign my book Nice Butt? Yeah. I'm not making this story up. So being the quick-witted person I am, I said, well, it's because you have a nice butt. So I just want you to know that I'm going to sign your book. Resisting you is futile. Okay, that's what it says, because my writing is not so great. So it's going to say resist. Now, if you want me to sign your book, Nice Butt, I'll be happy to. Nice butt, kick butt, lick butt, whatever you want. I'll be happy to sign it. Generally speaking, I sign it, resisting you is futile on the outside. So that someday, if you're reading Enchantment at Starbucks, somebody next to you will say, ah, Terry, I see that resisting you is futile. What do you do? Then I expect you to close that person when they sell a property or buy a property. I'm trying to make it easier for you. Okay, so it says resisting you is futile. And this is my last slide, which is very funny because Tess at mayall.com, guess who Tess Mayall is? Tess Mayall is Terry's daughter. So Terry's daughter does a lot of work for you. So if you want a copy of this PDF, you send an email to Tess at mayall.com and she will send you a PDF. Now, if you like Terry and don't want her daughter to be doing a lot of extra work, then don't send the email. But if you like Terry and you want her daughter to get more money because I pay her per hour, then you do send an email. Just depending on how you want to look at it. So I'll be happy to send you a PDF. Although you have the book, so I don't know why you want the PDF, but certainly you can have the PDF. And finally, I love the person who makes my slides. She's a woman who works for Apple. She's from Brazil. And if you ever want great slides, that's her website, Anna FXFZ. She makes terrific slides. So I'd like to give her a plug. And with that, I will conclude, and I'll just remind you that the 3 key pillars of enchantment to make you even more enchanting is likability, trustworthiness, and competence or quality. So think of the competence and quality of Apple. You know, Macintosh, iPhone, iPod, iPad, great stuff. Apple for quality. Think of the trustworthiness of Zappos, where millions of women buy shoes without seeing them or trying them on. Is there a better statement of trustworthiness than women buying shoes without seeing them or trying them on? And finally, for likability, remember Richard Branson getting down on his knees and polishing my shoes with his jacket so I would fly on Virgin. That is likability. So the likability of Richard Branson, the trustworthiness of Zappos, and the quality of Apple, the 3 keys of enchantment. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.